right, welcome back to Less Lethal Contingencies. Alan here. So, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be taking this Umarex, or as I say it, Umarex TR68, otherwise known as the HDR68, and we're going to be installing this rear ASA buttstock adapter is what they typically call these. Okay, so the rear ASA, air supply adapter, buttstock adapter. Now, this is used for when you want to put a HBA, high pressure air bottle, on the back, or you can put CO2 on the back as well, but it's going to go here. Okay, so in order to be able to do that, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take the clamshell apart and take the inner body out of the plastic clamshell, and then we'll need to remove the degasser or pressure. What do they call this thing? I always forget what they call this thing. The assembly that pops out over here to show that you have CO2 in there, right? It's being gassed up. I forget what they call that. Anyways, it escapes me at the moment. It's also a degasser, although it's kind of tough to press, but we need to remove that in order to install and thread lock this into place. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we will remove any cylinder magazine that we may have in the gun, in the marker. Put that aside. Okay, and then you want to take your drum axle and put it back into position. Its normal position here. Okay, it'll make it easier later when we take the clamshell apart. So you want to put that back that way. You want to remove your quick puncture / degasser here, and if you have anything in there, you can. Now's a good time to remove that as well. Okay, and this is what we're left with. Okay, and what we are going to do, we'll need a few tools to do this. So let's go over those really quick. Okay, so tools and or items you're going to need. Okay, naturally you're going to need one of these Umarex TR50, TR68. I know the TR50, TR68 uses the same one, but you're going to need an air supply adapter. Okay, one of these buttstock air supply adapters. You can get these on Amazon, eBay, a number of different places you can get them. Home Defense 24, maybe, if you have access, if they ship to your country. They don't ship to the US right now. I had this one. I think I actually got this one from ZRAM, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure you get these from ZRAM as well. And they got videos on how to install them as well. So, but you're going to need that, or else obviously you wouldn't be doing any of this. You're going to need a uni bit. Okay, that's what they call these uni bits. And this is going to be helpful in opening up this hole. Okay, that the pressure pin pops out of in the degasser. You'll be using that to open and widen that hole up. The idea is to get that, make the hole wide enough so that this will fit through it. Okay, and we'll be doing that here today. So you're going to need a uni bit. You're going to need some eyeglass type screwdrivers, or preferably a kit that has a what is this? The size Phillips that you're going to need. It's a CR-V 2.5 Phillips. Okay, so the size of 2.5 Phillips. You're going to need that, and you're going to also need. Let me double check, but I think it's a T10. You're going to need a Torx bit, okay, or Torx screwdriver. which is, yes, indeed, it's a T10, so Torx 10. And that you're going to need to remove these two T10 screws, okay, which hold this. I don't know, a lot of people call it a weaver rail, but I don't know that it, I mean, they call it not a weaver rail, they call it a Picatinny rail, but really this is your Picatinny rail here. But you're going to need to remove this piece that these two T10 Torx screws hold down. The rear sight assembly is what I would call it. Rear sight assembly, okay? So let's see, what else are we gonna need? All right, looks like that probably just splits right in half with the front sight. So yeah, and that fiber optic will probably stay on one side or the other more than likely. So that looks typical. All right, so you're gonna start off by taking your Phillips 2.5 bit, and we're going to remove these screws. You want to carefully make sure you apply proper downward pressure at all times so you don't strip them out. They're small screws. Now you can do this one or two different ways. You can choose to leave them in that half of the clamshell and carefully put it aside so that you don't lose any, or you can put it on a magnetic strip like I have here, or another magnet. Okay, I'm going to see if they'll stay in this clamshell. So let's go around and loosen them all up. We have, let's see, how many of these do we even have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you got 12 of the Phillips 2.5 screws, and then you got the two T10 Torx screws that hold on the rear sight assembly. Okay. So just go around, maybe loosen them all up a little bit first. I don't know how you want to do it. I guess that's your preference. In my case, they seem to want to come out of the clamshell completely as I'm unscrewing them. So I may just take them all out and just note if any are longer than the others. Oftentimes the one up here will be a little longer. And that's another good reason to maybe keep them in the clamshell if you can. This way you don't, if you have any shorter or longer screws, they kind of stay in there, stay where they were. But if you do remove them, just be sure to note the length of the screws. Okay. Going into this, I don't know if any of these are longer or if they're all the same size. And I'm just going to leave them all here in the clamshell. All right. That's what I'm going to attempt to do anyways. Again, keep good amount of downward pressure so you don't strip the screws out. And okay. Get all 12 of these screws loose. And let's see. Once I get them all loose, I guess I could have removed the rear sight assembly first. I don't believe it's going to matter one way or the other, but that rear sight assembly is going to probably act like a clamp and keep you from separating the two halves of the plastic clamshell, I would believe anyways. So let me go ahead and remove that using my T10 Torx bit. And again, being careful that any of these screws fall out, make sure that they don't go too far. Naturally, these screws, don't want to lose these either, okay? So you want to kind of take your time with this. If you have a magnetic tip on these screwdrivers, that's helpful. Like that. See, it's magnetic. So I think most of these are these days on what you get. All right. So there is my rear sight assembly. Okay. Just going to put that off out of the way. Okay. All right. Now, I do believe all these screws should be loose. You can go around it with like a plastic tool or maybe a small screwdriver and separate it if need be. Yeah. But what I would do is probably start by the handle and just kind of pry it gently by the handle. Just don't want to force anything. You know, if it feels a little stubborn, could be that you have a screw that is not completely loose. I know there's a joke there somewhere. If you're like me, you always have a screw loose. And just make sure. I think I'm still screwed down over here. Let's see. All right, they seem to be staying in there. Okay. Now, at this step of the game here, nothing should really come flying out at you, okay? So there shouldn't be anything too scary in here. Now you'll notice all my screws pretty much stayed in the clamshell, so that's good. I'm going to leave it like that, and we're going to put this, where are we going to put it? We're going to put it right over here, so we don't lose anything, okay? There we go. All right. Next step, you have your, just like we have in the TR50 and also the Mercury Rise torpedo revolvers, they all have this thing over here, right, called the, what is it, the axle, drum axle, right, drum axle and drum axle spring. All right, so that needs to come out, and so does your barrel. The barrel's just kind of floating in here, right? It's got a barrel and a barrel spring. So there's your barrel. There's your barrel spring. Okay. You can keep those together. I'm going to put this aside. I guess right there looks like a good place. And the drum axle and drum axle spring. Let's see. Just going to take this. Now this could go popping out, so go easy with this, you know. All right, it looks like it's somewhat, no, I thought it looked like it was stuck on here, but all right, so there's our spring, drum axle spring, and here's our drum axle, which I may have to lift this out of the clamshell to get it out of there, it looks like. Yeah. There we go. All right. So there's your drum axle. And your drum axle spring, okay? Don't forget to put this back in. I did that once, I think, on either the torpedo or the TR50 when I was reassembling it. Had everything in there, forgot to put this darn thing back in. And I was like, oh, okay. So you always want to make sure you do that before you tighten all your screws down. You have everything in there, okay? So drum axle spring. Don't want to lose those. All right, now you just basically lift this right out, okay? That's it. There's still no restrictor in here. I may have to put that back in if he wants to shoot CO2 out of it, but I think he's probably just going to be shooting high pressure air out of this for the most part. All right, yeah, so this would be your inner aluminum clamshell. I think it's aluminum, anyways. Looks like it, or some kind of die cast. Yeah, aluminum. You should not need to remove this, okay? That would be going a little deeper than I believe you need to do at this point. The idea is we want to remove this degasser pressure pressure valve here. You're going to need either some snap ring, I think they're called snap ring pliers. Let me get mine and I'll show you what they look like. At this point, you can take this side of the clamshell and move it out of the way. Put it somewhere. The screws are all in the other one, so. But yeah, this is what you have now, okay? Inside here, you have your trigger assembly, your bolt and valve assembly in here. You could take these screws out and carefully take this metal clamshell apart, which you would do if you needed to gain access to your bolt and valve assembly. Why would you do that? Well, if you were changing or updating the bolt spring, you would need to take this apart. Now, the reason you would need to take it apart is if you were changing your firing pin. If you were going with an upgraded firing pin, which I am not going to do, you might find yourself also needing to take this apart. Okay, there's plenty of good videos out there on YouTube as far as how to do that, taking this apart. It's just, I think, another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 8. There's like another 8 screws. And then you'd have to carefully take this off. And there are spring-loaded components inside there. So I wouldn't go taking this apart unless you need to, unless you're going to do something with the valve. Now, if you had to replace the O-ring, some people call it heat core O-ring. I'm not sure exactly what the correct term is for it. Maybe that is. But there's an O-ring on the bolt that your firing pin has to slide through, makes a seal. If you were to need to replace that, yeah, you would have to take all this apart, okay? But for today, just to replace this with this, okay, which is the goal, we don't need to go that far. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get some snap ring pliers. And let's see, if you don't have snap ring pliers, there are other methods. You can get creative. Take 2 small nails, maybe even a pair of needle nose pliers. You could grind them down, but if you get snap ring pliers, or if you go out to Harbor Freight and just pick up a cheap pair, or if you know in advance you're going to be doing this, you know, maybe it's a good idea to buy a pair. But essentially, you're just going to go in here with these pliers into the 2 holes, and yeah, the actual was pretty loose. That was not tight at all. See how easy that was? Right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And that's all you're gonna do. So maybe, you know, you could probably could have done it with a pair of needle nose pliers, maybe, or 2 nails. I know guys have taken 2 small nails and manipulated them with a pair of pliers to kind of get into those 2 holes at the same time. And then just basically, you know, once you break it loose, it's not in there terribly tight as you saw, right? Not tight at all. Okay. And then, yeah, put this aside. We're not going to be using this, although you may want to keep it in case you ever do want to put it back in there, you know, but we're not going to be using it. And if this was completely stock, inside there is where your valve block would be. So you would take this out, and if all you were doing was doing all this just to remove the valve block and gain a couple joules by doing so, gaining some more power, then you know, then that's a case where you might want to put this back on. You know, if that's all you were doing is just removing the valve block. But as you can see, this one's already been removed. Okay. If I had a valve block in there, I would be removing this, just like I did. And then I would have to come in here. Actually, sometimes you can get lucky and you can get a pair of needle nose on there and get the valve block out that way. But most of the time you got to bang it out with a screwdriver from the front. And to do that, you do need to take this apart for that procedure. So that was another reason to take this inner clamshell apart, is if you were removing the valve block. But I knew that that had already been removed when my son purchased this from the company he bought it from. One thing they do is they remove that, and they remove that for sure. And that's how it's marketed, as a 25 joule marker instead of a 16. They remove that. I don't know if they end up putting a different firing pin or not. And I'm not planning on taking this apart today to check. And it's kind of irrelevant to me anyways, because honestly, I haven't heard that you get really much gains out of replacing the firing pin with the shorter one anyway. So I probably wouldn't bother with it. But as you can see, there's no valve block in there, okay? Nada. It's already been removed, okay? At the moment, there's no restrictor either, because remember I removed that the other day when I was shooting HBA through the handle, right? So we removed that to use this as an expansion chamber. So now you can see that with that restrictor, CO2 restrictor removed, you can see all the way down this tube into the valve. Okay, all the way. Matter of fact, you can probably just make out that orifice in here comes right into there. Okay, so you can imagine with this this is increasing your chamber, your air chamber. So that's why you're developing so much more power. By doing HBA, removing that restrictor, and doing HBA even through the handle, okay? But what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to, let's make sure it screws on. I think I'm going to Loctite this too. There we go. See, what this is going to do is allow us to be able to hang a bottle up here, right, with a buttstock. Okay, and that's it. Okay, usually there's an O-ring on here. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. You could take it out if you thought you could go in a little further with the threads. Just use some Loctite. I don't plan on removing this, so I am going to use some of this high strength Loctite. But if you were unsure whether or not you were going to remove this in the future for any reason, you could use the medium strength Loctite products. You know, thread locker blue medium strength. Okay, and then I got the high strength. So this is by Permatex. They all work pretty good. So whether it's Loctite brand or whether it's Permatex, I am going to use the high strength one. I don't know if I'm going to leave the O-ring on there. Let me see if it goes in any further if I take the O-ring out. Because with the Loctite, you don't really need the O-ring, do you? So, but there's the O-ring. But if it ain't going to go in any further, now I know some guys, what they'll do is they'll chase these threads a little bit first before they install this, right? They'll chase them and kind of cut in one more run of thread. But honestly, this thing's only got 3 threads on it anyway. So, and I see at least three threads in there. So I don't think I'm really going to need to chase these threads any. Let's see. Yeah, it does go in further. Yeah. So I think I'll just Loctite it then without the O-ring, it does go in further. Just want a good seal there, that's all, you know. I mean, you figure you're going to be unscrewing and screwing in bottles and things, on and off valves and different things. So you don't want this moving on you and developing a leak. So it's, you know, it's up to you whether you want to put an O-ring on there, you know, or if you just want to run it no O-ring and thread lock it. But I would certainly use some thread locker. What did I get? Oil on my shirt? Wonderful. Great, that's never coming out now. Yeah, great move, Alan. Should have cleaned this out first. Ruining all my t-shirts. Yeah, so that is the procedure, guys, here. Okay. The valve block is out of there. I'm gonna try this off. I'll take some of this thread locker. Shake it first. And you know what? O-ring, no O-ring. Screw it. I ain't gonna use the O-ring. We're gonna go liberally with this. That's what we're gonna do. And in case I make a mess, because this stuff is messy, put some of this thread lock around there. Like so. Stuff does make a mess everywhere, so you don't want to mess with that. All right, I got that in there. I would allow overnight for this to set up fully. I mean, usually they say a couple hours or something like that. It has to have metal to metal contact for it to work, but I wouldn't go shooting or even airing this up to test it for leaks until the next day, just to play it safe. I mean, obviously you can do it. You can do what you want to do, but I would say to give it a good chance and make sure everything's cured up. I wouldn't be in a rush. Okay, so that's good and tight. And yeah, the mechanism looks good. All right, so that's done right there. Now, I'm just going to be probably using this as a plug. So if we do shoot it on CO2 in the handle, then we'll have a plug with a gauge on it. Around there. All right, kick it up a notch. Man's got to have his gauges. You know? All right, so that'll come in handy. All right, and then you just take it off when you want to put the bottle on. And you put it on and off there, unless you got a slide check tank like I do. And then you just screw the bottle on. Now, this one was from ZRAM, and I noticed the thread on here is slightly different. This thread's in just fine. It makes a tight seal, but I noticed that my bottles don't thread on perfectly, so I may have to put some other adapter on here. I've had to do that before. No big deal if I have to do that. I'll get another adapter for it. So depending on where you get your ASA, if you get it overseas or if you get it in the United States, you may need to do that. So you may need an adapter for it as well. An adapter for the adapter. Go figure. Anyways, so that's that. All right, the next pot, we're going to put this aside because we're done with that and it needs overnight to cure. We're going to I'm going to bring this back. We're going to put this out of the way over here. That's a good place. I'm going to take a drag of my hookah pen here. And what I like to do, I've seen guys do different things, but what I like to do is just put the two halves of the clamshell back together without the inner piece naturally. Okay. And then snug up the screws. Usually what I do, if I have all the screws out, I'll just put like 1, 2, maybe a couple of these screws back together here, just to hold it together so I can drill this out nice and neat, because I like to make it as neat as possible, the hole. Now, let's see. It's not a big deal. I don't plan on having this thing apart too many times. I know the more you have it apart, these, it's only plastic that these metal screws are biting into, so, they do eventually, give you a problem, but you don't need to go super tight on these. Just kind of run these other screws in just enough so that they're not going to come falling out and you're not going to lose them. I mean, that would be my advice. Some guys will tape it together, but if I tape it together, I don't know if any of the tape adhesive is going to get stuck on the plastic, and then I got to clean that later anyway. So for me, I just found it's, easy enough to just snug all the screws back up. If you don't want to snug them all up, you could take a few of them out. Just be conscious of the fact that these screws, if they're loose and you don't tighten them up a little bit, they could fall out as you're handling the clamshell in order to use that uni bit, which is the next step, right? We're going to use the uni bit and we're going to open up that hole. Okay. Now, if you're doing this procedure on a mercury-rized torpedo, TR50 torpedo, which I have done, and if you're doing it on that gun, it doesn't have a degasser here, so there's no hole there at all. So you got to start a fresh hole, so it's a little bit more of a challenge, because naturally you don't want to bugger it up and make it look like crap, right? It's not a technical term, but you don't want it looking lousy. Or maybe you don't care, I don't know. I do, though. I don't want it looking like junk, so. And again, I'm just tightening these down just a little bit so I know they're in there. They're not going to come flying out on me, because I may be manipulating this as I hold it. Okay. Did I get them all? I think I did. Could tap it over an area where they're not going to go too far. All right, so I got it pretty much clamped back together, right? Just the plastic clamshell, right? The body's over here. We got Loctite. The new ASA is Loctited in. We're going to let that dry overnight. We got a purdy gauge, right? Got a purdy gauge on there. So that's going to be our plug. And that's just one of those paintball, what is it, like 5/8. Oh, goodness. What is it, 5/8? G 5/8, I think it is. Paintball adapter. Normally they come with either a little 1/8 pipe plug in there, or you might have a 8mm quick connect fitting on there. I just removed that and put a gauge in there. Loctite it in a gauge. I like that. It's nice sometimes if you're shooting CO2 and you just want to see, what the CO2 pressure is. All right, so here we are. Just a plastic clamshell. Now, I don't know if I need to, yeah, it is kind of loose. I think I'm going to put this rear sight on too. Just so that this doesn't move and crack on me. I don't want it cracking as I go in here slowly to open this hole up. I got to open that hole up wide enough so that I can, when I take the clamshell apart, I can drop this in there. Which reminds me, I think when I did this to the TR50, I was smart about it, and I didn't Loctite that in until after I used it to determine how big my hole needed to be. And I went and did a silly thing this time. Well, I guess I can pull it out. I have more Loctite, so I guess I can do that. But I'm going to put this one screw back in and just to hold that together. Again, I don't want anything flexing too much and breaking and looking like sin, right? So I'm going to take my T10, my Torx 10. Actually, I can't do that. How dopey of me. The threads for these screws are in the body, so forget that. How silly. I can't do that. All right. Well, I guess this is going to have to be tight enough. I'm just going to go nice and easy anyways. All right, so you just saw me do something stupid, guys. I was not thinking it through. All right. Well, I could probably just make sure that this screw, that one's pretty tight. Make sure that one's tight then. That one needs to be tight. This one. Again, they don't all need to be cranked, but I do want a couple of them here. I don't want it separating on me. All right. I think I can hold it still pretty well. All right. I'm going to take this out before it starts setting up. I'll re-Loctite it again because I'm going to need this to... That couldn't possibly already be Loctited, right? Usually it takes a while for that stuff. Let me see. Holy crap, it's already on there. No kidding. Oh, that's because this is the really strong stuff. All right. Well, I think I can eyeball it anyways. Holy, that was fast. That stuff dried fast. Holy cow. This Permatex doesn't mess around. Yeah, this is no joke. That red Permatex, high strength, it's already cured. Holy cow. All right, no big deal. What else I have that's the same size as that? Do I have anything else I can use? All right, guys. Don't do what I just did. Loctite that later, because it would have been nice to just be able to fit that through the hole as I'm drilling it, but let me see, how big is this? 16 millimeters. Yeah, 16 millimeters. By chance, is this screwdriver 16? No, it's 14. But it's pretty darn close. I could probably get away with trying that in there to use that. But 16 is what I need, huh? Well, I'll just use this here, that's all. I'll just use this end of the calipers and go 16. That's all. That's all I have to do. All right, so here comes the hairy part, okay? Is that as we're drilling this, you want to go easy. You want to kind of keep it straight. But thankfully, you have a hole already started there, okay? So I am going to get my cordless drill. And I am going to carefully drill through here. Okay. Carefully drill through. Try to keep the mess over here. All right, hopefully that's coming on camera. Right, I'm just going to take this uni bit. It's a step drill bit. Okay, so I'm just going to go one step at a time, slowly but surely, and then I'll use my calipers to check it. And once I get to 16 millimeters, maybe a little bit bigger, then I know I'll be where I need to be for a hole. All right, see, it's already starting to separate a little bit. So if it does that to you, you may need to grab your hand around it. You don't want to put it in a vise because this stuff will break. So we're just going to do that. Very easy. Keep checking it. Make sure nothing's cracking. All right, so far that's coming out pretty good. Okay, shaking the table. All right. Let's see if I can hold that together. All right, it's coming out okay. Just take your time with it. The uni bits are about the best thing to use. Okay. It looks like I'm going to have to drill it bigger than this plastic area. All right. Drilling kind of straight. Looks like I'm drilling straight, so making a little bit of a mess. Yeah, it's drilling straight, but definitely this whole area here on either side, basically you're gonna have to remove that. You know, we're gonna probably go down because that was like 16 millimeters and we only have an opening that's 10 millimeters, so we got a little ways to go. We got a ways to go here. Yeah. All right, so again, keeping it clamped there. I have screws in here. Just gonna keep going with this step drill. Looks pretty good, but I gotta go a little bit more. Yeah, quite a bit more actually. Quite a bit. But yeah, so slow and steady wins the race, right? You don't want to break the plastic, so. right, we're getting there. I think at least one more step in this drill, probably. That might be it. That might be it, guys. That might be. A little mess, huh? Can't believe I got oil on this shirt. I'm bummed out. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. My freedom shirt. All right. That looks pretty darn close to what the size I need. Let me see. 14. Measured that, it was 16. So I'm getting there. So I think the next step on this step drill bit, this uni bit, the next step is right there. It's, what do they call that? Oh, I just realized they got the sizes printed. I couldn't see them earlier. 5/8, 9/16. Next one's 5/8, and then 11/16. All right, so I bet you 5/8 is the size, which might be good information for you guys too, if that's what it turns out to be. Let me see. Yeah, the next step is 5/8. So if I get through that and that gives me what I need, then even if you don't have a uni bit, maybe a 5/8 drill bit will do it for you. Let's see. All right. All right, that was 5/8, I'm pretty sure. 5/8. Yeah, pretty much. All right. Yeah, the rest of this slag, you can take it off with a knife. I might just take this whole piece off. I don't know, see what it looks like. All right, let's try that. Let's see what that gave us. Holding it firmly together. Gave us, what did I say? I needed 16 millimeters? Or a little over 15 millimeters that way. Or over 16 up and down. All right. Let me check this again. See, if I hadn't Loctited that in there, I could have just took it and slid it right in and just drilled and kept fitting it instead of being a dodo bird here. 16, yeah, 16.2, basically 16. All right. All right, so let me open it up just a little bit more. should be it. All right. I want it to look birdy. I don't want it to look freaking messy. So I don't want to overdo it, drill too much. All right. Good job, Helen. Just blew it all over the damn place. All right. I think that's us right there, I think. Pretty close. I'm thinking it is. I'm going to fit it in C because I don't want to make it overly large. You know, like I said, I want it to look halfway decent. So let me see if I can brush out a bunch of this mess that I made. Just kick it onto the floor for now. Vacuum it up after. Let's see. Well, yeah, it will make a mess. Obviously, the plastic's got to go somewhere. It's going on my floor is where it's going right now, guys. And I'll vacuum it later. Just want to get it off this assembly mat. What a mess. All right. Probably get it all over the chair, too. All right. That should do. That should do. You know what I really want is I want one of those blow guns that they make. I saw it somewhere once and I should have bought it. And I've been looking for it now. Would you know? So would you look for something? You can't find it, right? But when I wasn't looking for it, I saw this like blowgun that screws on. It's made for high pressure, right? It's screwed right on your HPA tank. Free air. You can use it to blow off stuff and dust with. Now I can't find it. I can't find it. Everything else that they make out there is for like low pressure, like, you know, like 150 psi max. But if I could get something that can handle 800 psi, it'd be great. Just, you know, that would be awesome. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about out there. Anybody seen one? Send me a link. All right, let's loosen up the ones that I tightened up, and I guess we'll dry fit it and see. We'll see how lucky I am. If I have to carve it anymore. If I have to carve it anymore, I could just use my knife probably a little bit. Possibly. We'll see. All right, so now we're going to separate these again. You got to keep her separated. Is what you got to do. We're going to separate them again because I didn't want to tape the two halves together. I felt like it would still probably walk a little bit and flex, but yet I'd be picking up a big mess with the adhesive on the tape. So I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys have done it, just taped it together, but I felt this was the cleanest way. And this is the way I did my TR50, and that's also the way I did my Mercury Rise torpedo. So it worked out pretty good there. And the torpedo was a pain in the butt because it didn't even have a hole to start. So you had to start it at the right angle of the dangle, or else, you know. And it didn't come out as nice as I wanted it to. I mean, it doesn't look bad, I suppose. I mean, the ASA draws most of your attention anyways when you're looking at it. So, but I would have liked it to come out a little bit neater looking. So I'm hoping that this looks good. So that's a tricky thing. If you got a touch of OCD, and I know some of my brothers out there do, I know some of you guys do. I got a little touch of it myself. You kind of want things to look good and be lined up properly. All right, so one of these is still hanging on. Which one is it? This one? And maybe this one. I think. This one. Hanging on to dear life. Oh, this one too. I think. What else is hanging on there? Oh, it's still that one. Ah, tight to pish. All right. Oh yes, you're still gonna be stubborn, huh? Oh, I just lost my little fiber optic piece. I bet you that probably just goes on one side or the other, probably. Don't want to lose my screws. Yeah. All right. Now it's time to, this is the side that has my screws. And you're going to have all this stuff like in here too. So that's going to be like blown out. But this side doesn't have the screws, so I can just tap it. Try to get all, as much as that, really all of it out of there. You don't probably want that lingering around because there are holes in this body, right? There's one right here. On this side, you can see there's all kinds of holes in there. So you don't want to leave any plastic filings in this case anywhere, because they could get inside there, stick to the lubrication, stick to the oil and stuff, and then maybe cause problems. So definitely want to clean it out. So clean it out, blow it out with compressed air if you have that available, vacuum it out if you can. On this side, I can just kind of tap it and get it all out of there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, that side looks clean. Now this side, again, I don't want to lose my screws, but let me see if I can flip it over and see what it looks like. Yeah, so in hindsight, I probably would have just taken all my screws out. Although they seem to be staying captive in here, so maybe it's not a big deal. They're tight. Let me see. Maybe one of them's jingling. That's about it. All right. Just gonna wipe this out. Get the plastic out of here, plastic shavings out, without knocking any of my screws out. Yep, that looks good. Like I said, you just want to get all these plastic shavings the heck out of there, because you don't want it getting inside the inner clamshell, right inside the trigger group, and causing you nightmares. So, all right, so this is my side with the screws. The screws are pretty much staying captive, so maybe I was overly cautious for little reason, little cause. All right, I'm gonna, and yes, this video is gonna be long, guys, but there's somebody out there that's going to appreciate it for sure. Okay, there's somebody that's going to appreciate it, and even though it might be a little lengthy, I mean, either that or I can just do a video where I tell you how I did it and I don't show you. I mean, sometimes that can be useful. I mean, for some guys, that's all they need. They're like, all right, how'd you do that? And it's like, well, this is what I did, you know? And then they're like, all right, I got it, you know? It's like kind of like a recipe, right? Like I like to cook. So I don't know how many of you guys out there like to cook, probably a bunch of you. But I do, I like to cook. But I don't like to read instructions, including recipes. A lot of times I'll look at a recipe, I'll watch somebody make something. You know, maybe it's on the TV or YouTube, or maybe I am even reading a recipe. But I make it my own anyways. I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to do it my way. I just want to read the recipe or watch her, see how you do it to get the idea. Maybe I'll put my own spin on it, you know. Now, there are some things that you do need recipes for, right? Because you could screw things up if you're not measuring everything out right. But honestly, I'm more of a freestyle type of cook. And I don't want to read something like that and make something. I'd rather get the idea and maybe improve upon it, make it better. All right, screws. I have not lost any screws. I'm going to dry fit this. And if I'm off, I'm not thinking I'm going to be off by much. I'll probably just clean it up by just taking a knife and carefully doing that rather than screw it back together and all that. So, all right, so that looks pretty good on that side. All right. That doesn't look bad to me. Don't look bad to me. What do you think, guys? Not too shabby, huh? Yeah, not too bad. That's a nice tight looking fit right there. Might be too tight. Let me put the other side of the clamshell on and see if we're going to be able to close the gap. If we can't close the gap, then I'll take it back out. I'll just whittle away a little bit at a time till we get it just right. But maybe I'll get lucky here. I don't know. Sometimes I get lucky. Sometimes I think I used all my luck meeting my wife. And you know what? I think I don't know. It looks pretty good. Just look for, you know, and the same thing once you start screwing it together naturally, you know, you want to look for gaps. You want to close all these gaps up, right? If anything's hindering you from closing the gaps. Now, over here, it looks like possibly gap don't look bad underneath the ASA, but at the top here, it looks like I could be a little tighter than that. Now, if this piece goes on top, goes over it, maybe that'll tell me something. Maybe I'm all right. Oh, if that piece won't stay on there, then that tells me something as well. That gap's too big. Yeah. Wait, I don't think I want that kind of pressure. I probably could get away with this because that's screwing in, that's metal. And is this metal or plastic? It's plastic. Yeah. So I don't want to be stressing that out. This is metal where it screws in. So I am going to just kind of carefully tweak it with my knife. Probably just one side. Maybe both. But that looks pretty freaking cool, right? That looks pretty badass right there. All right, so I'm going to take this off. Again, the screws are pretty much captive for the most part, so maybe I don't need to worry too much. Of course, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled if something does go flying. All right. So I'm going to clean it up just a little bit more here. just going to take this knife, which I know is sharp because I sharpened it not too long ago. And I see what I'm doing. Right? You can only do this if your knife is sharp. I'm just going to carefully whittle it a little bit more at a time, just so I can fit this really nice. Okay. I'm not thinking I need that much. And again, I just don't want it to look like crap. Whoa, I just dropped a screw. I did, but I think I dropped it right here on the mat. Oh, yeah, I did right here. Okay, there we go. So I guess I can't be handling this too much. I'm over here squeezing it. But, you know, if you do it over a work area like this, then, you know, it's a little bit less likely you're going to have a problem. Oh, there goes another one. Speak of the devil. All right, this one came out of right here. So before they all start popping out on me, is that any longer than that one? No, it's the same length. All right. Well, I guess you got to be careful for that, guys. Yeah, I know what it is the vibration from me using a knife to scrape it. They're just dropping now. That one's the same length as well. They're probably all the same length. So, no big deal. All right. Breathing right into my Bluetooth. Sorry about that, guys. I'm really not a heavy breather. All right. So I did that side. Here's another screw. And yes, it's the same length. I'm going to do this side now. Oh, there's another screw. Same length. Oh, hell, they're all falling out. Okay. As long as I don't lose it, that's all that matters. All right, I'm going to do a similar thing to this side. I'm just going to, this side doesn't have screws, so just going to carefully take this down a little bit. Feel free to fast forward, guys. At this point, you pretty much know what I'm doing. And you pretty much already know that it looks pretty damn cool. The ASA, I mean. And you also know that that high strength red Permatex lock thread works super fast. And hopefully you learn from my mistakes if you are going to do this. And you don't Loctite it until you know it fits. Again, any of these plastic clippings, get them right out of there. Get them out. All right, we're going to try this again. Let's see if that doesn't tighten up that gap, close up that gap for us. Yeah, I'm going to try it out. What do I got? Still have a few screws still left in it. All right. Did it help? Yeah, I think so. I think it closed the gap up all right. I think I could be happy with that. I mean, get more light on it. I see light coming through there. It might be a little tight on this side. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good enough. Close enough. What's the saying? Close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades. All right. I'm going to put this piece on first. Like so. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just put these screws in first. All right. Actually, wait a minute, Alan. Do not screw anything down yet. I have a barrel to put back in. Yeah. I know you guys are probably like, is this guy gonna actually screw this thing back together without the barrel? Yeah, I almost did, guys. Almost. I'm getting ahead of getting excited. Getting excited. Yeah. All right, so let's put our barrel back in there because you kind of want a barrel in there. You know what I'm saying? Like the only part you're not gonna put back in is this pot, right? This pot, yeah, I don't know. Put it in a baggie and save it in your junk drawer. Maybe you use it for some project, but that's about it. All right, so our axle drum and axle drum spring need to go in, right? And the way this works is this piece right here has to hang down there. So I'm gonna go like this. The spring, don't worry about that. You can put that in after. There we go. Right, just want to make sure that your drum axle, now we can put the spring in. Just slide it in there and push it in yonder. All right. Whoa. I'll be right back. Don't do that either. The spring went flying. All right. Son of a gun. I heard. There it is. Man, I need a Diet Coke. I get thirsty. All right. Don't do that. Don't play around with it until it's back together. Put that little spring back in there because that's what's going to happen. It's going to go flying like it did to me. All right. Got to get my 3% nicotine. All right. The barrel. Okay, what can I say about the barrel? Well, the barrel's got a spring. The barrel's designed to float. So you put the barrel in like so. Make sure it goes into this little floating barrel doohickey. Right, you can only go so far. The barrel spring, you kind of have to push it and make sure that it's sitting behind this plastic. There's like kind of like an edge or a lip. Okay, make sure. Okay, that spring is in place. All right, and if you were replacing this with a tuning barrel, you'd be doing that as well. You'd be pulling the clamshell apart for this. You wouldn't need to take your axle, drum axle out, but you'd just take the barrel out, put the tuning barrel in, and make sure that the spring's sitting, resting behind there because it needs to be in that position in order for this barrel to move like this back and forth. Okay, this barrel, all this needs to see how that. Okay, so that spring can't be on the outside. It's got to be right there. Okay, enough said, I guess. Enough said. All right, now we're going to put it back together. Get all the plastic out. All right, now I can put it back together because we got our drum axle and drum axle spring in place. We have our barrel in place. Now we can put it back together. All right, and what I like to do before I screw it down completely is I do like to make sure that, again, this barrel's kind of floating around. It's moving. So I can see it moving right here. Just push your finger in on that. like that. Just make sure it's moving freely. It's very, very critical. You don't want to crank this down and then find out afterwards that your spring's not in the right place. If the barrel moves like this and it comes back, you know your spring's fine. Okay, you could test this too. Your drum axle, make sure it works, but if it's in there, it's probably okay. Let's start screwing this down. Let's see. All right. Man, this has been a long video, guys. My apologies. Well, there is fast forward. It's been over an hour now. I can hear my dog walking around in the hallway wondering what the hell I'm doing in here. She's like, "What are you doing in the office, Dad? You've been in there all freaking night." All right. All right, so the verdict was these screws, at least the ones that fell out, they all seem to be the same size. I think I need a screw in here. So again, with this, you don't really have to stagger them. You're not talking a cylinder head or something or take manifold. Probably not a big deal. Just I would say the biggest deal is one, try not to forget any screws. Make sure you tighten them all down, and two, don't over tighten them. Maybe go around what I like to do is go around them all once, whatever order, doesn't matter, and snug them all up, and then go around a second time and hold down really tight on a screwdriver and torque them a little bit more. I wouldn't, again, I'd be careful not to over tighten them, because you strip it out, you're kind of screwed. Now you got to drill the damn thing out. Everything's plastic around it, and it's way easy to bugger it up. So, all right, we need one here. We need one there. We need one here. And we got one more, right? Oh, crap. You know what I didn't do? That freaking fiber optic. I wonder if I can slide that in there. I should be able to slide that in there, I would think. I hope so, because I don't want to have to take this apart again. Yeah. I think so. Worst case, yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. All right. Okay. Okie dokie. All right, so if you do that, see the mistakes I'm making. I'm not making any massive mistakes yet. But, like the fiber optic, it's not a big deal. I didn't have that screwed down completely yet anyway, so I got it slide back in there for the front sight. That's all. My eyesight is terrible. It's getting so damn bad. Anyways, again, apologies for the long video, but it is what it is. I mean, this is how long it's going to take you. I mean, you can try to do it faster than I'm doing it. It's not a race. I mean, you want it to come out nice. I don't think you're gonna, it's not a stinking race, right? So, hey, if this video is an hour and 20 minutes right now, I'm almost done. If it comes out good and looks good, you can expect that it's probably gonna take you about the same amount of time. I mean, yeah, okay, so I'm manually screwing these in, right? I have a little battery operated screwdriver. I could speed it up a little bit, but I'm not going to save that much time. But I am going to run the risk of stripping something. I've used it before, and most of the time it works fine without stripping things, but you know, it doesn't save that much time. Now, if your wrist gets sore really easy, maybe that's a good reason to use the battery operated electric one. Don't use anything with too much torque though. All right. Now is a good time to go around, see if I missed any screws. And we're going to put this rear sight back on. And I'm going to screw that in. I'm going to do that first. And then after I do that, I'm going to put that other screwdriver bit back in and I'll double check. Go around and double check. Just look at the clamshell. Make sure you don't have any big gaps. That's all. Make sure you don't have any big crazy gaps. Open. I mean, I could have probably worked it a little bit more with my knife and closed that gap up a little bit more, but it doesn't look bad to me. You know, I'm more concerned with overdoing it and making it look like crap if I go keep scraping away at it, you know. That little bit of a gap there, I mean, it looks tight everywhere else, so, you know, but I mean, that's up to you guys. Like, you know, you do you, right? You do you, I'll do me. But that all went in nice, nicey nice. Again, that was a Torx 10 at what they call a T10. Okay, for those two screws, and the other one was a 2.5 Phillips. Okay, I think that looks pretty darn good, actually. What do you think, guys? Looks pretty good, huh? Yeah. It's not, there's no huge gap there. You know, everything's fitting. This rear sight's fitting fine. Right? There's no gap. Just go all the way around the gun. Check it. Make sure everything looks good. I got the front sights back in. Again, make sure your barrel's still floating good. Feels good. Make sure your drum axle operates. And it does. Okay. Looks good. All right. Let's put a drum magazine in there, or cylinder mag in there. Make sure that feels good. Yeah, it's got the right amount of resistance. Does the trigger work? Yeah. Yeah. I would say that that's good. Only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around one more time with this screwdriver and make sure make sure they're all, you know, this is when you want to put some good pressure on it. Again, don't over tighten anything. If you don't have a gap there, then don't strip the screw out. Looks good. Looks good. Don't want to ruin it because I'm going to have this thing back apart probably in a few weeks. A few weeks or a month or two when I get a tuning barrel for it. Probably going to pick up one of those and probably have one in, yeah, probably in 2 or 3 weeks. And then I'll be taking this apart to put the tuning barrel in. Easy peasy, same thing. You know, just take it apart. And then yeah, that's it, guys. She looks good. So TR68, otherwise known as the HDR68, right? Home Defense Revolver. Now it's called a tactical revolver. Looks good. So I got the rear ASA there. Okay. As you looks at it. Yeah. And then we want to shoot CO2 in the handle. Of course, I got to put the restrictor back in, or else you're not gonna get too many shots out of the CO2. But I have the restrictor downstairs in the shooting range there. Put that back in, and now you got this plugged off, and you can see what your CO2 pressure is, right? And then if you want to shoot high pressure air, you unscrew this. You screw your tank in. Of course, I am probably going to need to get an adapter though, because not everything screws in nice and tight on this one from ZRAM. Yeah, that is her in all her glory. Hey guys, thank you for watching. Sorry it took so long, but you know, you can expect it's going to take an hour, hour and a half. You lose screws, you lose springs, it could take longer just to look for the stuff. I would advise anytime you do something like this with small parts, always have a small parts mat, especially if magnetic, so you don't lose stuff, things keep bouncing everywhere. All right, that's my advice to you. Thanks for watching. Peace out.